guys? I know everyone's probably tired. They've been walking around all weekend. I just drove in from Vegas yesterday, so. Thank you guys for coming out here today. And I know I'm kind of at the end of the weekend here, and when Ironman Magazine asked me to come out this year, it was it's kind of special for me. I had all these professional wins, Arnold Classics, Night of Champions. But definitely that night at the Mr. Olympia was probably the greatest moment probably of my life when I won that title. Because the way I won, it being, the record-breaking year, Coleman was going for his 9th, and everyone was telling me, you don't have a shot, he's just going to, win his 9th and he'll retire. And it didn't happen. I stuck to my guns, and I came in strong for the competition, and he slipped up, and I grabbed the title and won my first Mr. Olympia, and the crowd accepted it with a standing ovation. They stayed, and I talked, and they stayed, and I didn't know what else to say, actually. Some of you guys are probably there. It was one of the greatest moments, probably the greatest moment in bodybuilding history, so I'm really glad to be part of that. And I'm glad to be here speaking in front of you guys today. So right now I'm living in Las Vegas. I've been there for about 4 years. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I grew up in central Massachusetts, small town, Worcester County, which a lot of you probably don't know where Worcester is, but I grew up on a farm, actually, a town of 6,000 people. I'm the youngest of 7 kids, 3 brothers, 3 sisters, none of them weight train. I'm the only one. So there's no one bigger than me in my family. Why I started weight training? I fell in love with, the pictures in the bodybuilding magazines. Chris Dickerson, Mr. Olympia, was the first bodybuilder I actually saw. And I told my brother, who was about 12 years older than me, I said, I want to look like this guy. And he looked at me and says, are you crazy? He said, why would you want to look like that? The guy's got, like, muscles in his feet. I said, well, that's how I want to look, too. I do have muscles in my feet, too. I probably have the ugliest feet alive. Fred Flintstone feet, they call me. So I knew I didn't want to work on the farm my whole life. My brothers actually did concrete work, so I was forced to actually work a lot. I started working at about 11 years old. I spent my school vacations, weekends, after school working in the family business. And I think that's really what gave me the backbone of what it takes to be a top bodybuilder nowadays, is the discipline to get up every day and do that, because I hated it. I used to pray every morning to please get me through this day because I hated it so much. And I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do my whole life. I mean, I had a decision. It seemed to be what everyone did back where I grew up. They worked on farms, worked construction. So I decided to join the gym on my 18th birthday to pursue my dream to be bigger. Then I didn't realize it would come so quickly. I put on about 50 pounds in my first year of training. I was going to college, actually to pursue a degree in criminal justice. I wanted to be a police officer. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be a cop. I got to be kind of jacked up, So started training, and I'd go home between classes. I would eat my way to sleep. I remember I just had a lot of time to kill, which I wasn't used to because I was used to working in the family business. So I was going to college, and I was working part-time security. I always seemed to pick the part-time jobs that allowed me to be able to eat. I remember when I'd go on my security job, I'd have my Jeep at the time, and I was guarding this building, and I said, okay, how can I work this so I can get all my meals and everything? So I remember I used to bring an extension cord with me to work, and I'd park my Jeep in the corner in the parking lot, and I'd plug an extension cord into a wall, and I had a microwave, a TV, a VCR, and a heater all plugged into my extension cord, and I'd sit in my Jeep and I'd eat meals and watch movies. And then once the supervisor would come, I'd have to stash all my stuff. I'd put a blanket over it and pretend I'm walking around the lot. And needless to say, that job ended, and I moved on to the golf course job. probably to this day, my favorite job besides being a professional bodybuilder. So I'd get out there on the golf course. They'd say, "Oh, I think you're going to mow greens by hands this morning," and I'd say, "No, I'm not." And at the time, I was about 240, so they'd say, "Okay, you're not going to mow greens this morning by hand. You're going to have to ride the tractor." I said, "Okay, that's more like it." So I'd bring my cooler, I'd strap my cooler onto the machine, and I'd head out on the golf course about 4:30 in the morning, wait for the sun to come up, find a nice place to park my machine, and I'd eat my meals for the day. So that was how I gained most of my weight very quickly, is I just ate like crazy. I had everything I could, mainly chicken and pasta. And I was in the gym training. Had a lot of people approach me. They said, "Oh, you should be a bodybuilder." I said, "All right, you know, I'm starting to get a physique. I should do that." So I competed in a local show, placed second, my first contest. And the rest is kind of history. I became a teenage national champion at 19, best in the country. Actually, lost the overall title to a guy named Branch Warren, a lot of you guys are familiar with. He beat me in the overall. He was still a lot smaller than me, but he still beat me because he was better conditioned. But that was the point where I said, okay, I'm going to pursue my life as a professional bodybuilder. So I took a trip to California, watched a lot of guys train, and kind of learned. I read a lot of magazines, read a lot of books, did as much research as I could to try to find, you know, the best knowledge I could, and came back, won the Tournament of Champions at 22, which is a show here. I actually flew all the way from Massachusetts, you know, financing my way along the way. I didn't have much money. You know, I remember driving, you know, my beat-up car to the gym, and I didn't care as long as I could afford my food for the day and be able to train. And, you know, I won that Tournament of Champions in 1995, and that's where I basically hit kind of the big time. I landed my first cover of Muscle and Fitness. I met, you know, the father of bodybuilding, Joe Weider. He offered me a contract, and here I am starting to make money in what I love to do. So I earned my professional status in '96 and moved on from there. And of course, you know, won, you know, 3 Arnold Classics, Night of Champions, you know, runner-up at the Olympia. I hate to say 4 times because it's very frustrating for me, but luckily it wasn't 5, and now, you know, holding the ultimate title. So how I got there, I mean, it was through a lot of trial and error. I mean, even as a professional bodybuilder, a lot of you guys must think, well, you know, Jaycutler'S at the top of his game. He must know his body inside and out, but that's very far from the truth. Every year, we actually prepare truly a different way. There's been a lot of shows where I've eaten all sorts of carbohydrates, all sorts of proteins. I've done no cardio. I've done 3 hours of cardio. The last couple of years is really kind of where I landed my place in what I do for preparation. 2005, 2006, Mr. Olympia. And, you know, that's kind of what I'm going to talk about a little bit with my approach with my training and my diet, because it seems to be what's holding me steady on top right now. When I was here in 2004, I was, you know, getting up in the middle of the night doing cardiovascular. Any of you guys here from my 2004 seminar? So I was doing a crazy thing to win that Arnold Classic that year. I was trying to trick my body into doing different things. But now I'm basically living, you know, somewhat of a normal life. I hate to call bodybuilding normal because it really isn't. And I eat, right now I'm in the off season, I eat anywhere between 8 to 10 meals a day. I eat every 2 hours. I'm trying to get in about between 400 and 450 grams of protein. I weigh almost 300 pounds. I'm 295 today. I compete about 270 for the contest. And my carbohydrates average between 800 to 1,200 carbs a day, which seems like an outrageous amount, but for my body weight, is that a lot? Yeah. That's all right, you can laugh, dude. I laughed at your outfit when you came in. But I'm a big believer in carbohydrates for getting big. I mean, right now, you know, I'm pretty lean conditioned. I've actually been doing cardio at least 3 times a week, half hour in the morning on empty stomach. And I'm weight training at least, you know, 5 days, 6 days a week. Right now I'm kind of listening to my body, just doing at least 1 to 2 body parts a day. I train sometimes twice a day, once a day. It just depends on my schedule. I travel every weekend, so it's very, very difficult. But the routine I suggest to everyone is train each body part literally probably, you know, at least once every 5 to 7 days. Okay, some guys train, you know, each body part twice a week, but I've always trained each body part once every 5 to 7 days. And I find the best result for that. I think you need at least 72 hours rest between body parts. So if you're going to do your body parts twice, that could work. But I find for me, if I try to train it twice a week, I get overtrained. Even sleeping, I sleep at least 8 to 10 hours a day. Sometimes I take naps during the day. Of course, now, you know, with my schedule, it's very difficult to do. But I sleep at least 8 hours through the night. I get up about 6 o'clock every morning. I eat at least one meal before I go to the gym. I usually train in the morning, somewhere around 10 o'clock, large body part. And then I go back home, eat a meal, run some errands, eat another meal, then I go back and train again. I try to take 5 hours in between the body parts if I train twice a day. Okay, you always got to take at least 5 hours between body parts. My training's usually only about an hour in the morning, hour in the afternoon. I usually spend an hour on each body part. You really should be able to get through a body part in no more than 1 hour. You should be able to blast through things in probably 45 minutes. I take anywhere between 45 to 60 seconds rest between each set. And I perform anywhere between 12 to 15 sets right now per body part. So if I'm going to do chest, I picked probably about 3 or 4 exercises. I do at least 3 or 4 sets per exercise, get enough stimulation, and get out of the gym and feed it. Okay, right now my body part grouping goes as such. It goes chest and biceps on one day. I do quads and hamstrings another day. I do back one day on its own. And I do shoulders and triceps and traps on another day. Calves are only done once a week, usually on chest day. I'm a big believer. Everyone says, Jay, you know, I'm trying to get my calves bigger. I still think you should train it like every other body part. I think it should be done, you know, hard and heavy, you know, 10 to 12 repetitions, and stretch in between, just go in and shock them and then get out of it. And as far as the diet, it's always up and down. Of course, being on the road, like a weekend like today, I probably had about 3 meals today. So if I told you I'm eating 10 meals today, I'm lying to you. And I basically just on the weekends lose at least 10 pounds. So when I get home on Tuesday, I might be down to 285, but it usually just water. Every weekend, I suppose I seem to lose the most amount of weight. So it's really hard to judge really by weight what I look like. I kind of go by how my body feels and if I'm taking enough calories. But what I try to focus on is getting all my protein from egg whites, chicken breast. I eat 1 steak meal a day. I don't eat fish actually in the off season because I hate fish right now. Only when during my pre-contest diet. Protein shakes. And that seems to be it for protein for me right now. Now, as far as carbohydrates, I eat oatmeal, sometimes brown rice, white rice definitely after I train, and sometimes potatoes. I've been doing a new kind of diet, which I did for the Olympia. Some of you guys probably read my articles, where I'm focusing on more whole foods, eating for my blood type, which I'm focused on. This bread and cereal from Whole Foods is called Ezekiel bread and Ezekiel cereal. Any you guys heard of this? So I'm an O positive blood type, so they say I'm like caveman blood. So I can eat a lot of red meat, and I have to stay away from dairy. They say actually, you know, egg whites really aren't good for me. I still eat egg whites every day. I have my big jug of egg whites I get from Lana's Egg Whites. And I just throw them in a pan and eat those every day, cook them up, I fry them up in the morning. Average, you know, breakfast for me would be 20 egg whites, 2 whole eggs, 4 slices of Ezekiel toast, and 1 cup of Ezekiel cereal and a cup of black coffee. So right there I'm eating almost 200 carbohydrates just for breakfast alone. okay? And then the meal after I train, I'll eat anywhere between 200 to 250 carbohydrates of the cereal, white rice, and then usually a protein shake, at least 50 to 70 grams of protein. So what I shoot for each meal is between 50 and 70 grams of protein every meal. So I'll eat around 12 ounces of meat when I eat meat or a protein shake. 20 egg whites is about 60 grams of protein. And my carbohydrates, I try to take in at least 100 grams of carbs every meal. My biggest meals of the day, of course, are my meal one, which is my pre-workout meal also, and my post-training meal. Those are where I get most of my calories in the day. And then, of course, if I train twice, the post-training meal there also. I use the most amount of calories. So that's why I'm eating, like I mentioned, anywhere between 800 to 1,200 carbohydrates a day. That's what I shoot for. I weigh every meal. I measure out everything. I have a scale at home. I try to weigh every portion, and I try to be very, very exact. And that's why I can sit here and tell you time and time again, I mean, I eat the same breakfast, the same foods, the same thing year-round, even pre-contest. I don't change anything pre-contest except the portions. The foods all stay the same. So if you think, okay, well, Jay, what do you do different from pre-contest to off-season? There really isn't much of a difference, and that's why my physique really doesn't change a whole lot. I don't gain a whole lot of body fat. When I do have to bring the diet in for the contest, the only thing that I will switch up is I will add a lot of fish to my diet. You guys have probably read my articles, probably seen me grocery shopping in my videos and online. I eat 5 pounds of fish a day and support Costco quite a bit. So that's where I buy a lot of that meat. Like I said, I mentioned, you know, for the Olympia, I was shopping at Whole Foods. That became probably double expensive as it used to be. I was eating a lot of ground chicken breast there, ground turkey, but I always got my fish from Costco. And the best way I found for cooking that fish was outside, because we all know what happens when you cook that fish inside. What happens? Stinks up the house, right? Well, my wife, she didn't like her clothes in the closet smelling like fish anymore. So I got my big old Foreman grill outside. I put it right there next to the neighbor's wall. And I cook that fish right up every morning, 6 o'clock. Neighbor stops me when I'm getting the mail in the afternoon. Back on that diet, huh? I kind of chuckle to myself, how'd you know? I smell that fish, I like it. I said, oh man, this guy is crazy. This guy likes fish coming over his wall. He's out of his mind. Yeah, the neighbors kind of think I'm a little crazy in my neighborhood. I actually just moved into a new house in Vegas, so I was living in almost like a retirement area. I didn't know this when I moved to Vegas 4 years ago. I bought in this complex 60 homes. Thought it was great, you know, guard-gated community. Started driving around. I'm like, man, I don't see much movement in this this neighborhood. Said to my wife, have you met any of the neighbors, you know? I don't see anybody out there. And we start seeing them out there, you know. They're all driving like Cadillacs and Buicks. And they all seem to leave real early in the morning, and they're in for the rest of the day. And slowly but surely, I realized I was living in a retirement community. And I was the youngest guy. And here I was winning all these Arnold Classics, bringing home a Hummer every year. And they're sending me letters saying, you can't park your vehicles outside. I said, what do? I got 3 Hummers. I won from the contest. But so slowly they just made me, I sold off the Hummers now. I don't actually drive a Hummer truck anymore. But that was a great experience, you know, winning 3 Arnold Classics. And, you know, Arnold Classics coming up every year. And I do miss actually competing that show. Right now, you know, just going to focus on the Mr. Olympia. And a lot of people ask why. You know, you could probably go to win with the Arnold Classic pretty easily. But it's just very hard for me to peak nowadays twice. And I don't want to disappoint the fans and come in on at one show and off at another. But also, you know, my travel schedule, traveling all the time, it's very, very difficult to prep for competition. And I think that's kind of what separates me a lot from the other guys is I'm just very, very dedicated. A lot of you guys probably read my story. You know, Carrie, my wife, who I've been with for 17 years. We started dating actually at 16. I actually told her on my first date, I said, I want to be a professional bodybuilder. And she looked at me like I was crazy. She said, all right, that's cool. But, you know, she's really, really supported me and given me the focus. I think we all kind of need that backbone when we're trying to succeed at certain goals, and especially when I'm trying to become the best bodybuilder in the world. And being, you know, only 11th Mr. Olympia, it's quite a feat to do. And I really never thought it was possible, honestly, you guys. I mean, coming from small town, you know, 6,000 people, it's not normal that produces a Mr. Olympia. And what, you know, this contest, this past Olympia proved to me is that really anything can be done. I mean, I set my mind forward. I said, I'm going to try to be the best I can be. I was very focused. I was very determined. A lot of people said I couldn't do it. Too bad. That's, you know, that's part of our sport. There's a lot of negative people trying to drag you down. I think it's with a lot of business. But you always have to stay positive and stay focused, and that's what I did. And I truly believed in myself once I started winning, and I realized that I could become the best. And I did. So we all have certain goals that we shoot out. You know, we set out to do. We just, you know, we're really not sure the outcome, but we all have to have the heart and the drive, the determination, the perseverance to just follow through, and no matter what the obstacles, you know, fall into your path, you have to learn a way to jump over those and move forward. And I've kind of had those experiences, and being up here in front of you guys, it's like, you know, you guys can accomplish anything, and a lot of you guys probably looking to just, you know, look better yourselves. You're not trying to, you know, topple Jay Cutler down off the Mr. Olympia crown. Maybe this guy over here and with the hat, but I don't know if I can stick around that long, bro. But we'll see. You keep